one of the big talking points at the moment in women's rugby league, and that is the future of superstar halfback Jesse Southwell.
Southwell puts on a step, there she goes, the teenager!
There is a bit of talk around that the Brisbane Broncos are looking at luring her north. The salary cap's actually not working the way it does in the men's right now.
No.
If you're looking at a broadcast rights deal coming up, you want the quality of the product to remain at a premium. Welcome to Code Sports Show and Go, your NRLW podcast talking all things women's rugby league. This week with Tiana Penitani-Gray. T, so good to see you.
Thanks, Lara.
Thanks for jumping in. Now, we get straight into one of the big talking points at the moment in women's rugby league, and that is the future of superstar halfback Jesse Southwell. There is a bit of talk around that the Brisbane Broncos are looking at luring her north of the border. This would be huge news, and also probably no surprise that the 20-year-old is going to be in hot demand.
No, absolutely no surprises there. She's easily in the best form that we've ever seen her in, and she's still got so much room to grow. And I think what she's doing there at the Knights, steering the ship, putting them in hot stead after losing some really key players like Tamika, going up to the Brisbane Broncos, it doesn't surprise me, the position that she's helping put them in, but also them wanting to strengthen their squad. They're already super strong
Why are
squad.
we not surprised? We should be surprised because they are super stacked.
Yeah,
it should be said that she's not talking to anyone yet. Apparently they are only talking to Newcastle. She has next year and the year after in her favour, so she can leave. But at the moment they're only talking to Newcastle. But it doesn't stop other clubs from thinking this could be an opportunity to pounce.
So I'd be really interested to see the reason why she left, if she did. Maybe to learn a little more under some older leaders, the likes of Ali, and to go back up and link up with Tamika up north. But moving far away from home, I know Jessie's a homebody as well, and loves to be around her family. So it would come as a shock, a really big surprise if she did leave.
I think for a lot of fans, it would be quite hard to understand at the moment how a club as strong as Brisbane would be the team to steal her away. And I think that opens up a bigger conversation about, at the moment, what is posing a big threat to the NRLW, that so many players are stacked at the Roosters and the Broncos. We actually got an email this week from Emily asking us, how can a couple of teams at the top of the NRLW be packed with so much talent when there is a salary cap in place? Are some top players at teams like Brisbane and the Roosters playing for less than they could get at other clubs in order to stay together? So that's from Emily. And I think maybe as a player you can help us understand the salary cap's actually not working the way it does in the men's right now.
No.
So in layman's terms, the gap between the top players and the bottom players is not much in salary terms.
No.
So you don't see clubs able to throw big cash at girls and say, come to my club.
No.
You'll be more likely to stay together if you're going to win and be successful. You mentioned the jobs. So for people at home to understand, the rich clubs, let's put them like that, but they're seen as the Broncos and the Roosters. They've got the money to spend. They are able to offer jobs. Every club's able to, but more, the Roosters and the Broncos seem to be doing it more than others. So
they have the means to.
They have the means to, right? So they've maybe got 4 or 5 girls that are on full-time jobs at the club, either in community or behind the scenes working the office.
Yeah.
At your club, there's only a couple of girls in that frame?
Yes. Yep. We've got, from my understanding, I think Emma and Jada work in community, and then CJ is also employed by the club. Don't quote me, I think she is. And then we've got Quincy, who's employed by the NRL but works as a GDO in the area. So she's technically not paid by the club, but they are jobs that the club can offer, to boost player salaries and be
and that's
some
one
form
way
of
to
enticement.
keep players. And
it is,
and to lure them on bigger money than perhaps other clubs are willing to do, because they might not have, as you say, the means.
Yeah, because essentially the business part of the club have to find the money to be able to pay these players.
When it goes full-time professional and we get a full-time salary cap full-time for the girls, it'll be a bigger cap. There won't be these jobs, we think.
Yes.
Therefore, we would like to hope that by then there'll be a bigger spread of the talent across the game, or it will potentially force girls to leave.
What's common at the moment is a lot of players are taking pay cuts to be able to stay with the coaches that they like, the teammates that they like, the girls that they know that they play well alongside. There's an emotional side of that. As a game, looking at expansion and wanting to hold a high quality game up until this point, I think maybe we'll need to look at other ways to be able to even that out.
Well, that's what Pamela Whaley wrote about in the paper today, that could we look at a draft? Would that help? Could we look at a point system where, I mean, as it stands right now, I think, if my calculations are correct, the Broncos had a team with 11 internationals, former or current, in their side on the weekend. The Roosters had, I think, a similar number, 11 or 12 former or current internationals, and they're up against teams that have maybe 4.
I know the game did a few years ago try the draft system. That didn't really work because, again, there was a sum of money that those players were offered to go to go to new clubs, and if you turn them down, you can stay at the club that you wanted to stay at. And that's what happened.
So a point system, in theory, could work, because if you can only field certain points in your team allocated by rep level, but again, you're forcing then girls to go elsewhere when, I can't imagine the men would ever settle for that.
No.
But if you're looking at a broadcast rights deal coming up, you want the quality of the product to remain at a premium. At the moment, the Broncos, the Roosters and the Knights you can even put into that category a little bit as well. They're the top 3 by far at the moment, and we don't want that to
don't want them to run away from the competition.
We don't want to dilute it even further, especially if we're looking at expanding further in the years to come. Well, let's get stuck into the competition as it stands right now and the race to the top 6 at the moment, Tiana. We have passed the halfway mark of the competition, and I mentioned the Roosters, the Broncos and the Newcastle. They look comfortable in the top 3. But Cowboys, your Sharks, the Warriors and the Eels really are in this real tussle at the moment. Tell me about the troops coming back for your Sharks to make sure that you guys are there in the top 6 come finals.
Yeah, so we will hopefully have Jada Taylor available for selection this week, if not next week.
Amazing.
We've obviously got CJ coming back from having her bub in May.
We've got the Titans this week, Warriors, Knights, Bulldogs, and then the Roosters to finish. I feel like I'm going to back the Sharks in to do it and make it to the finals. I think you'll do your season in reverse. Last year it was a red hot start. I'm backing the Sharks after the way you played against the Dragons to go on a run now towards finals. The Cowboys, they're having an impressive season. Come from behind win over Parramatta. This is their best start to a season in the 3 years they've been in existence, I should say. 4 wins and 2 losses. They've still got the Broncos and the Roosters on their run home, but I still think there's a real shot that they could push themselves and be in that hunt for the bottom part of the top 6 come finals. The big story of the weekend was seeing the Warriors win back-to-back for the first time this season. And they play 3 of their last 5 games at home in Hamilton. They've done a heap of travel, so they've got a lot of that hard stuff out of the way. And they're in the 6 right now. I know you play them on this run towards the finals. For you, do you see them as a real threat in their first year? As a push to be top 6, which would be such a huge return for them?
Absolutely. And I think you look at the passion that they're playing with at the moment. They're a very different side to what we saw in the early days of the competition, and they've got some really exciting talent coming through, the likes of Patricia Maliepo, who's steering them around the park really nicely. But then they've also got the experience, and all of those rugby converts that have come through have absolutely pulled their weight up until this point.
All right, we've just got some big injury news. So Bulldogs co-captain Taylor Preston, we saw her go off in a Medicab with her knee. She's just told me that she got really good news from the doctor. So she's been told it's nothing major, and she's hopeful that she can return to the field, which is enormous news for the Bulldogs.
That's
because
great.
if she's not there, potentially you'd say it'd be really hard to see them make finals in their first season. A big bounce back they're going to need from that loss to the Warriors on the weekend. The game of the round to look forward to this weekend is the Roosters and the Newcastle Knights.
Yes.
Okay, T, before we go, I have to ask you, can the Knights be the first team to stop this juggernaut and stop us from having to talk about how lopsided this competition is?
It's honestly, it's hard to look past the Roosters, who are in really hot form at the moment. It just seems to be, for me, watching them and observing them even playing yesterday, it's their second phase play that's so impressive but really hard to stop and be on the receiving end of when you're defending against them. But I think if any team's going to do it in these coming weeks, it will be the Knights.
Yes.
They do have almost equal strike and star power across the park, really consistently across the park. They've got Jesse, who can kick them out of game and kick them out of confidence, and they've got Yasmin Clydesdale in the back row, who's such a vocal and strong leader that demands a lot from the players around her. So if there's any team that's going to do it, it's the players that have played alongside these Roosters girls at Origin level early in the year, and they'll have to stand up and have a really big game to be able to do so.
The Broncos couldn't get it done earlier in the season. You know, they'll be itching to get them again at some point, but it's over to you, Newcastle, basically. Jesse Southwell and co. Get the job done on behalf of the rest of the competition. And maybe John Strange might appreciate it as well, because then he can fire them back up again come finals. Tiana, thanks so much for joining us. It's been a huge weekend. We look forward to round 7 of the NRLW.
Yes, we do. Thanks, Lara.